Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this platform, this recording. I apologize that I couldn't meet with you in person today. I had a previous engagement. I am flying to Ottawa, but I will be back next Friday, and you'll meet me in person. But like I said, thank you very much for joining me over this recording of your introduction to Anthropology 1101, World Prehistory, Ancient Peoples and Places. So what this recording is going to do is outline the expectations of the course. We'll outline what assessments you're going to be doing. I will go through the new platform Top Hat that we're going to use for your assignments and for attendance, and any discussion questions that I'll ask in class will be asked over Top Hat. So I'll go through where to find that on Blackboard. And then the last hour that we'll do is introduce your first lecture, Introduction to Archaeology. So first things first, we must acknowledge that Douglas College and Douglas College campuses where we live, learn, and work are situated on the unceded territory of the Kakite. Certainly if you're in New Westminster, right, here's the campus right here, where we would be if this was in person. The Douglas College campus in New Westminster is situated on the traditional and unceded territories of the Kakite First Nations. If you attend any classes at the Coquitlam campus, then you will be on the traditional and unceded territory of the Coquitlam. And you can see the Coquitlam territory is quite expansive, right? As well as the Kakite. The Kakite village actually was on the other side of the Fraser River right here, right? Probably a little bit further down this way. But the Kakite village was very close by to where we are. And so we must acknowledge that the history of place goes beyond the establishment of this institution. I'll also take some time to introduce myself. My name is Heather. You can call me Heather. I'm very comfortable with you using my first name, either in an email or just in the hallways or whatever. I got my undergraduate degree from Simon Fraser University. I have a degree in archaeology, and I have I've been a part of archaeological excavations, and I specialized in biological anthropology at SFU. So I specialize in identifying human remains, human material. So we'll talk a little bit about human material in this class because it is a specialty of mine. For my master's degree, I went to the University of Victoria, which is a lovely campus. I really enjoyed my time there. So if anyone is thinking of attending either SFU or UVic when you finish your degrees, or if you're planning on transferring there, I'm very happy to talk with students who have questions about where to go next in your academic journey, and I'm very happy to talk about any of these institutions with you if you have a desire to attend. So that was my master's degree in anthropology, and I do have a PhD. I have a doctoral degree, and I received my doctoral degree from the University of British Columbia. Sorry, the logo here is a little bit on the negative inverted color scheme, which is unfortunate. So I got my PhD at the University of British Columbia, and I teach there still. And again, it's a great campus. If anyone has any questions about going to UBC, continuing your degrees, I'm very happy to talk with you about that. Each of these institutions, they kind of have an animal associated with them. If anybody lives in Coquitlam or is or live in, so SFU is on Burnaby Mountain. It's on North Burnaby, and it's very close to Coquitlam, and there tends to be, sometimes there can be bears, right, wandering around this campus. UVic used to have a problem with rabbits. There was an undergraduate student who was a resident and had their pet rabbit with them and released the rabbit into the wild when their degree was over. And of course, the rabbits do as rabbits do and reproduced very quickly, and it caused some problems for the university, for the field, right? They kind of dug up the field. But they had a rabbit cull. There are no rabbits anymore, but now the deer have moved in. So if you're interested in going to UVic, watch out for the deer. And of course, at UBC, UBC has a famous coyote on campus, the coyote named Kip. Kip has his own Facebook page. You probably see Kip wandering around. The main thing to know about animals on campus is don't leave food out for them. Don't feed them. Animals become habituated to human food, and when wild animals are habituated, they tend to be destroyed. So we don't want to destroy wild animals. We want to maintain a harmonious relationship with the wilderness around us. So we just don't leave food out for these animals. That's sort of the point of my introduction to the animals on campus, my little public service announcement. Please don't feed the wild animals. So that's where I went. These are the institutions that I have been to and have experience in. Now I'll tell you a little bit about what I did. So like I mentioned, I have a specialization in biological anthropology, and that is the study of human skeletons. So this is a three-dimensional model of the hip bone, or the os coxa. That's the bone you're probably sitting on if you're sitting down right now. And I did three-dimensional models of these bones and measured them in a computer, and did some shape analysis as well to study sex-based shape differences in this bone. I went to the University of Tennessee to do this work, and the University of Tennessee is really important for biological and forensic anthropology because they have a body farm. They were one of the first body farms, or probably the first body farm that was created for forensic study. And what happens to the bodies sort of after they've been donated, so they, when an individual has passed, they will have signed an agreement to donate their body to science, and their bodies are left out sort of in the field behind the hospital, and their rates of decay are measured in different environmental conditions for this ongoing research that William Bass and graduate students are engaging. And then once the body has been fully decomposed, the bones are collected, cleaned, and put in these really long boxes for further study for people like me who look at the shape of the skeletons to help improve forensic identification methods. So like I mentioned, I also do some archaeology. So this is me. This is me doing some archaeology in Hope. You can see here I'm in an excavation unit. Hopefully you notice the walls of my unit are really nice and straight and smooth. This is very easy to do when you're digging in sand. So this is in Hope, and the environment there is, the soil is a little bit sandier. And so I was able to dig these really nice walls. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm doing some color documentation. So I'm documenting how the color changes throughout the depth of this unit, and this helps us to determine what geological processes have occurred, and essentially how deep in time we're going. So when we excavate, we'll learn a little bit more about this as we move on with the course. But in archaeology, essentially, the further you dig down, the further back in time you're going. So these soil analyses can help match soil from other areas of these archaeological sites, and then we can create a larger picture of what the geology is doing in this area to help inform about the amount of time that has passed to create these landforms. So something that you'll learn about more in this class is that archaeology is very reliant on geology and geological processes in order to understand time. So that's just an explanation of what I'm doing here, and then something that we'll talk about. If you want to contact me, my office or my email is listed here. My email is also listed on a document that I'm going to go through in just a little bit called your syllabus, your course syllabus. And if you want to meet with me, you can meet with me during my office hours, which are listed on that document, which is essentially after class on Fridays. So on Fridays from 1:30 to 2:30, I'll be in my office, which is essentially will be just down the hallway to where our classroom would be, again, if we were meeting in person today. My office is 3308 J. So you can find me there. All that information is on the syllabus, and here's my email address. If you can't meet me during my office hours, I'm very happy to make an appointment with you to meet and discuss any issues you might be having with the content, or if you just want to have a chat about where you want to go academically, if you want to persist in anthropology or archaeology, if that's something that interests you and you want to continue on your academic journey, I'm quite happy to talk to you about that if you want to continue in archaeology or anthropology. So at this point in the class, I would invite everyone to introduce themselves into small groups, but because we can't do that right now, what I'm going to invite you to do is just put a little blurb about yourself in a discussion post. So tell me who you are, what you are interested in academically, and why you took this course. And you might find some members of your cohort who have similar academic interests to you, and then you might want to meet up and chat with them and about other courses, similar courses you might be taking, or they could give you some advice as well about where you might want to go on your academic journey. I think it's really important to meet people in college. College is all about collegiality. Collegiality is all about meeting and talking with people, right? So making connections, making friends, will be beneficial, not just for pleasure, not just pleasurable, but it will also be advantageous if you need somebody to share notes with, or if you're sick and you can't make it to class, somebody might want to share their documented notes with you, and then they can do the same, or you can do the same for them, and vice versa. So making connections in the class could help you with your success in the classroom. So this is why it's important to do these icebreakers. You've probably done a lot of them. It's Friday. You've probably done a bunch already in other courses that you've been in, but they're important to do. It's important to meet people and make connections. So you can do that during the discussion. You can do that after you've watched this video, or you can pause the video and do it now, whatever you want to do. The textbook for this class is Kevin Fetter's Past in Perspective. And it's the 8th edition. This edition is available in the bookstore, rather, as either a print text or as a digital textbook. And if you notice that the print 8th edition of the textbook is quite expensive, if you manage to get a hold of a 7th edition of Past in Perspective, you can use that version as well, that edition as well. So that's totally fine. The digital textbook is quite a bit cheaper. And again, you can access that material from the Douglas College bookstore. I believe you can also access this textbook directly from Oxford University Press if you want to do that, or from Amazon if you can find cheaper or used versions of the 8th edition or the 7th edition on Amazon. You can do that as well. Your course outline will have a list of the chapters that are expected to be read before lecture, so pay attention to the schedule on the syllabus and make sure you have those chapters read before we have lecture. Also take notes of any questions you might have. If you want an explanation, or if you want me to expand on what might have been mentioned in the textbook, then bringing those to the lecture is a really good way to solidify your understanding of the material. Okay, so read the textbook chapters ahead of the lecture and bring your questions so that I may address them when they come up. So now let's go through some pointers about how to succeed in this class. So the first thing to make note of is in-person attendance, apart from today, is going to be essential to your success. So please make sure that you're attending class in person. This will be the only lecture that is recorded. There won't be other recorded lectures available. So do make sure that you're attending class in person so that you are able to ask questions and clarify your understanding of the material so that you can do well in assignments and you can do well in the midterm and the final exam. So attending class in person and the whole class, the whole 3 hours, right, is going to be essential to your success. The other thing that I'm going to invite you to do is to take notes during class. So this is to augment the lecture slides that I post. I will post digital materials for you to access before the class starts. And I really encourage you to take those resources and augment them, right? Put more information down, either from the textbook or anything that I talk about, right? I will often tell various stories to illustrate these points in more detail. I'll probably provide more detail audibly than I would in text. And these are important to write down again so that you create a memory or create a mnemonic for remembering this material, right? Memorization and is going to be really important. There'll be a lot of new terms, a lot of new concepts and ideas that I'll ask you to define and explain in exams, and getting every opportunity to remember those materials either through something that I've said or something that you've read or something in addition to the notes that I've provided is just going to help you even more. So make sure to take notes. And as I mentioned previously, read the chapter before you come to class. And so in order to figure out which chapter's coming next, you're going to have to look at the course syllabus, right, and the course outline that's listed in the syllabus. That gives you the schedule of all the readings, all the assignment deadlines. So making note of those is going to help you be prepared for what's to come and what to make note about. So I've already repeated this, but memorizing, right? Memorizing new terms, memorizing definitions is really going to be important, and you really have to start early to memorize successfully. You have to make flashcards right at the beginning, so you write something on a small square of paper, you write the definition behind it, and every time you've got a few minutes at breakfast while you're commuting, right, at the end of the day, just go over those new terms and really commit them to memory. Okay, this is really going to improve your success on exams, and use those materials or use those words when you're doing assignments, even terms from assignments, you can turn into flashcards to help you memorize. We'll also be watching some films. There'll be 5 films that we'll be watching during class. You can print off the film questions and complete them during class. And all of your film questions are available on Blackboard, so make sure you bring either a digital copy that you can write the answers down directly as they're spoken in the film, and you would submit them directly to Blackboard, right? So you can take a photograph of your written material and upload it right away, and make sure it's uploaded as a PDF. But please make sure that you are doing the film questions and also the assignments during class time. You will have enough time during class to complete these assignments and submit these assignments well before the deadline. Okay, and all the deadlines are listed in the course syllabus, so make sure you take note of them. Okay, there will be a penalty if you do not submit your material on time. There's a 10% penalty, and it's 10% of the value of the assignment. So if the assignment is out of 10, then you'll be deducted 1 point, right? So 10% of 10, right, will be 1. The timing for the deadlines are 9:30. So right before class begins is when your assignments will be due. Okay, so it's not midnight on the day, it's 9:30 a.m. Okay, so make sure that you take note of that. So always ask questions, right? Ask me questions during office hours or during class so that we can clarify any issues you might have, okay? Asking questions during lecture is really important, again, and writing those answers down as notes can really help ensure that you understand the material being presented. There's a lot of material on Blackboard, right? And I'll go through what those materials are in just a second. So make sure that you're visiting Blackboard to access those materials. There's the syllabus on there to make note of deadlines. You can get PDF copies of the lecture slides. You can get film questions, but you can also access the other platform that we're using, which is Top Hat, right? So you can access Top Hat right from Blackboard, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So the format of the course, how this course is going to go, we're going to have 2 hours of lecture. So that's 2 hours of me presenting course material where you can ask questions, and then in the 3rd hour, we'll either have an assignment, or we'll watch a film, or we'll have discussion, okay? So there'll be a couple of times where we will be discussing content later on in the course, once we establish a background for all the students, and that you could use that background to answer the discussion questions that we'll have in the last hour. And do make sure to keep up with your readings, keep up with the textbook readings, keep up with making notes so that you don't fall behind. There will be a lot of material that I will introduce that will not be in the textbook. So if you're simply relying on the textbook, there will be a lot of material in there that I will not cover. And also vice versa, there'll be some material from the textbook that I will not cover in lecture. So if I don't cover the material that's in the textbook, if I don't cover it during lecture, then that means that that's not something you need to pay attention to for a final exam, okay? If I introduce it during lecture, then that is something that you should be paying attention to, right? So really lead from the slides, right? Lead from the lecture material, and that will tell you what content from the textbook that I'm going to be focusing on for a final exam or a midterm. Okay, and again, asking questions about that to make sure that you have all the content that is testable. You can do that during lecture. So because I'm really encouraging students to attend face-to-face and I'm not providing recorded lectures, we really need to maintain those COVID protocols that we established a few years ago in order to make sure people are healthy, right? So you're very much encouraged to wear masks in the classroom. If you want to stay healthy or if you're concerned at all about meeting in large groups, wear a mask, right? You're highly encouraged to wear a mask during class. Washing your hands, right? This is the easiest thing that you can do to prevent yourself from sickness. Washing your hands often. We are going to be handling materials, right? So washing your hands before you handle materials, after you handle materials. This again will keep you very healthy, right? If you can't wash your hands, you can sanitize, right? So if you want to bring hand sanitizer with you and sanitize your hands before and after handling materials, you're welcome to do that, right? And of course, if you feel sick, please stay home, right? If you're sick and you can't come to class, please send me an email so I can exempt your attendance. We're going to be taking attendance, not today, right? Because we're not meeting and I can't show you Top Hat live today. So you won't be, I won't be taking attendance today. But next week, I'll definitely start taking attendance. And if you are sick, make sure that you send me an email so that I can exempt you from your attendance grade. That being said, we will be providing discussion questions. You will not be exempt from the discussion questions, okay? You'll be able to see what they are. And hopefully you can answer them after the fact. But if you miss out on lecture notes, then that's something you're going to have to ask your colleagues to help fill in the gap, right? You can probably do a lot with what's in the textbook, but if you want to make sure that you got everything, you know, go and ask a colleague and make sure that you're reciprocating. If you ask for material, make sure that you're also willing to share your material to your colleague as well. I'm also happy to meet with students during my office hours to explain material that you might have missed. Please don't ask me to rehash the whole 2-hour lecture for you. I will not do that. But if you have specific questions about content that you found in the textbook or in the lecture slides that you're still having trouble understanding, I can definitely answer those specific questions for you, right? If you have specific questions about specific content that we went over, I can answer those questions for you, but I will not give you a private lecture, okay? I only have an hour, right, for office hours, and really use those connections that you're making in class to help fill in those gaps. So now let's talk about how you're going to be assessed in class. And these assessments, assignments, and film questions, the assignments are all completed over Top Hat. So you don't have to download any papers, but you will have to log in to Top Hat to complete them, okay? And there'll be 4 assignments. Each assignment is worth 5% of your total grade. So completing all 4 of these assignments will contribute 20% of your overall grade. So we're going to look at how archaeologists reconstruct time. There'll be a assignment on Paleolithic tools, and also an assignment on the Upper Paleolithic. Don't worry, I will explain what the Paleolithic is and what the Upper Paleolithic is. I'll provide all that information. So these 3 assignments are going to be covered on your first midterm. The 4th assignment, North American Archaeology, that's going to be covered in the final exam. Okay? So content from these assignments will be testable on midterms and final exam. Assignments 1, 2, and 3 are going to be on the midterm. Assignment 4 will be on the final exam. I'm also going to be showing you 5 films. So the first film we'll have is on Rapa Nui, or Easter Island. Then we're going to have films on, this will be, the Rapa Nui film will be on the midterm. All the other films, film on Egypt, China, Mesoamerica, or Mexico, and South America, these are going to be testable on the final exam. Okay? Each film question, the questions you can download off of Blackboard. You can complete them on the PDF, or you can print them off and write on them, and then take a photograph of your written submission and upload it to Blackboard. There's 5 of them worth 5%, which means these film questions will contribute 25% to your overall grade. Okay. So again, Rapa Nui, the questions there, that will appear on the midterm, and then the other films will appear on the final exam. And these films will be showing in class, right? So do make sure that you are attending class during these days in order to answer the film questions. And you can answer them verbatim. So just as the film says it, you can answer them exactly the way the film describes it. So like I mentioned earlier, there will be penalties associated with late assignments. And again, an assignment is late if it's submitted after 9:30 in the morning on the due date. Okay, if you submit it after that date, it will be penalized 10%. And the day is essentially 24 hours after that 9:30 cutoff time. So if you submit the next day at noon the next day, that will be considered 20%. Okay, so it's based off of 9:30 in the morning. Okay, that's when it's due the next day, and so any time beyond that, you will incur 10% each for each 24-hour block, essentially. If your assignments are over a week late, then they will incur a 70% penalty, which means that you will not be able to pass the assignment, even if you got perfect on it. So this means that I'm not going to accept assignments that are over a week late, because you have no chance of passing, right? So please make sure that you're submitting materials on time, unless you have an academic concession. So if you have a concession, or if you know if something has come up that is going to delay your submission, and it has to be a good reason. It can't be something like, oh, I had a lot of work to do today and so I couldn't submit it online, or I just didn't get a chance to submit it before now. Those aren't good excuses, right? This has to be something that you don't have control over, right? Like, my power's been out for the past week or whatever, can't submit, or my computer's dead or something like that. And even then, like, you could do something on the library or come to campus to submit it. The point is, there's no reason why you need to delay submitting your assignments until the deadline. The deadline is there to give people flexibility if they do need more time to complete the assignment, that they have that time to do that. There's no reason why you can't submit the assignment after the film is over or once the class is done. Everything that you are expected to do, you can do within the time that you're given, okay? So don't wait until the deadline to submit your materials, because that's exactly when something's going to go wrong, right? That's when the internet's going to go down, or that's when your computer is going to, die or give you the blue screen of death, right? And then you're going to send me an email saying, I can't submit this because my computer died before the deadline. It's like, well, you had this whole time before the deadline to submit your assignment, and that's when you're expected to submit it, right? You're expected to submit it once the film is over, or once the class is done, okay? Don't wait to submit your assignments. Submit them as soon as you can. And again, you can submit them on Blackboard, right? So take a photograph of it. This is sort of an artifact of when we were still doing paper assignments, but submitting them over Blackboard. If you are going to do a written assignment, you can take a photograph of it and upload it directly to Blackboard that way as a PDF. We have two major examinations in this class. We'll have a midterm, which will take place on June 21st, right? It will cover the content from weeks 1 to 6. You will have an hour, so it'll start promptly at 9:30 and it will end promptly at 10:30, okay? You're going to have a series of multiple choice questions and short answer questions, and then you'll be able to complete all of that within the hour. And then once the hour is over, you are free to enjoy the rest of the day. So we're not going to continue class after the midterm. You essentially show up for the midterm on June 21st, hopefully on time, hopefully before 9:30, so that you make sure you're here and you're ready to start by 9:30. And then once the exam is over, then you can leave. Okay. The syllabus will outline a lot more information about the midterm, right? Bringing pencils for scantrons, etc. And I will also prompt you with more information as we get closer to midterm time. Okay, and it's worth 20% of your overall grade. So doing well on the midterm is pretty important. The other major assignment is the final exam, right? We don't have a date for the final exam yet. The final exam date usually comes out after the midterm, right? So once we finish the midterm, then you'll be provided with your final exam date. Just a note about the final exam. We have a time period for the final exam, which is in August. Please don't schedule holiday time or don't schedule a trip home during your final exam period, because you never know if final exams get rescheduled or if they get changed or something happens, right? So you have to leave that time available for your final exam, even if you don't have, even if you have your final exam schedule and don't have an exam scheduled essentially later on in the final exam time, still keep that exam time open just in case something happens, okay? And also communicate this to your parents. They might surprise you with a trip home, right? Ask them if they are going to surprise you with a trip home, that it doesn't happen until after the examination period is over, okay? So that's the really important thing to know about the final exam. You do have to make sure that you are present and available to write the final exam when it's scheduled. The final exam is going to cover material after the midterm. So the final exam is not cumulative, okay? You won't see questions from material previous to the midterm on the final exam. The final exam will cover all of those topics and information that was presented after the midterm. The only exception to that is the long answer question, right? So we'll have a long answer question, and this is an opportunity for you to demonstrate your accumulated knowledge, right? So this is when you can bring in some information, right, that might have been given on the midterm, and you can demonstrate how that answers this long answer question, okay? So the long answer question is an opportunity for you to demonstrate all of the knowledge that you've learned, right? But for the multiple choice and the short answer questions, you won't see questions on material that was presented before the midterm in these sections, okay? You'll only have material from the assignment, film questions, and from the lectures that was presented after the midterm for the multiple choice and the short answer questions. So hopefully that's clear. And again, I can reiterate this when we're preparing for the final exam itself. So looking at your grade breakdown for this course, 5% of your grade is going to come from attendance, and that's attendance that you register on Top Hat. So as soon as you come into the classroom, again, not today, I will have the attendance code up on Top Hat. So you sign into Top Hat and input that attendance code, and that will register your presence in class, and that will be tallied every week that you sign into Top Hat will tally your attendance code. Okay. If you're having trouble registering your attendance code, please let me know or send me an email that you were having trouble, and that I can amend your attendance once class is over. Okay, but in order to make sure that you are accumulating attendance points, you have to register the attendance code on Top Hat. Okay, and you won't get the attendance code unless you show up to class. So there's that. And that'll be 5%. So 20% of your grade is on those 4 assignments. 25% of your grade is from the 5 film questions. 20% of your grade is from the midterm examination, and 30% of your grade will come from the final examination, right? And that will total 100%. So what are the aims of this course? What do we hope to learn? What do I hope to teach you, right, by the end of this course? And this is essentially to introduce you to the world of archaeology and also to world archaeology, right? Archaeology around the world. So we're describing human history in broad strokes. We'll look at various sites, some major archaeological sites around the world, and we'll take a look at some archaeological methods, some interpretation, to essentially instill an interest in this discipline of archaeology and all that it does, right? Archaeology is very diverse. It incorporates a lot of different practices, which we'll talk about in our first lecture in a few hours. And so I'm just going to introduce those methods to you to see where, if archaeology is something that you might be interested in. So not only will I be introducing important sites and methods, we're also going to talk a little bit about archaeology theory. So how do we interpret sites, right? How do we interpret human behavior from archaeological sites? How do we interpret social adaptation? And how can we reconstruct human activity from the past? Okay. So there are several theories about how humans have changed over time, and we're going to be exploring some of those in this lecture or in this course. So off of that, I'm going to switch now to talking about the Blackboard and materials on Blackboard and going over the course syllabus.